victory for the post office victims today as ministers published legislation to quash the convictions of hundreds of operators who were prosecuted during the Horizon scandal.
The Post Office Minister Kevin Hollinrake joins us now. Very good morning to you, Mr. Hollinrake.
Morning.
A really important issue. Just before we get to it, yesterday at this time we interviewed one of your colleagues about the comments allegedly made by a huge Tory donor, Mr. Hester, in which he said that the black MP, female MP, Diane Abbott, made him want to hate all black women and that she should be shot. The Prime Minister spent a long time before he came out and said that was racist and wrong. Would you also endorse the Prime Minister's comments that those remarks were racist and wrong?
Yes, I would. I mean, you don't connect somebody's character with their skin colour. Clearly, that was the wrong thing to do. Mr. Hester's apologised, which is the right thing to do.
Can I just ask why it's taken so long for government ministers to be able to say that on the record?
Well, I think it's fair you can interpret what he said in different ways, but I think my interpretation of it and the Prime Minister's interpretation of it, it was racist, and that's why Mr. Hester's apologised.
If those comments were racist, does the £10 million donated by Mr. Hester become tainted? And should the Conservative Party hand that money back?
Well, that's a matter for others. I think the fact he apologised is the key thing. So, you know, we also think things that are wrong at times. He's admitted these comments were wrong and he's apologised for them. I think that is the most important thing.
No, well, I would interject to say I think the most important thing is the impact it's had on Diane Abbott, who says that the comments are frightening, and other black women that we have interviewed who say that when someone says something like this, it kind of is immaterial in a way that an apology is given because it doesn't lessen the impact of the comments, because it adds to a sense of threat to those women. And therefore, that racism lingers. You know, I mean, he's apologised since it came out, but these comments were said years ago, and the impact on Diane Abbott and those other women stays the same.
Well, those people should be apologised too. I think for me, the most important thing to recognise is we are a very ethnically diverse party. We've got the most ethnically diverse cabinet ever, and we've got the first British Asian Prime Minister. All those things should be welcomed universally across this country because we are not a racist country, and I think people of all kind of different skin colours are welcome in this country and can contribute to the highest level in terms of public service, for example.
Are you basically saying the money's not going to be paid back?
That's not a matter for me. That's not the position as I understand that will happen, but that's a matter for others.
The problem, Mr. Hollinrake, is it does feel as though there's a double standard here. A couple of weeks ago, your colleague in Parliament, Lee Anderson, said a remark about Sadiq Khan which was judged to be racist. He was removed from the Conservative Party in Parliament. He's now left the Conservative Party entirely to go to Reform. Why was he removed from the Conservatives, but a £10 million donor is treated more sympathetically? What is the difference between Lee Anderson and the £10 million donor?
Well, the difference is Lee Anderson didn't apologise.
That's the only difference?
Well, there's different situations, but Ed was asking me what's the difference. Lee Anderson wouldn't apologise for what he said. So I think that's a significant difference.
This row about the donation is rather overshadowing your announcement today, which is that the government are going to issue this sort of blanket exoneration of the subpostmasters in the Horizon IT scandal. Is that going to happen instantly?
Well, nothing happens instantly in Parliament, but it's happening very, very quickly, more quickly than any other piece of legislation that I've seen in the time I've been in Parliament. You know, we've never sought to overturn the judgment of the courts before. We're doing that for hundreds of postmasters. We announced it only a few short weeks ago, and I think I spoke about it on your programme, Susanna, and it's the right thing to do. So the timescales around this will be, we hope to pass that legislation very quickly in the House of Commons. It then goes to the House of Lords. We expect to complete all stages, so this becomes law and comes into effect in July. It means we can start paying compensation right then. So but as early as August, people should start to be compensated who've been prosecuted by the Post Office who haven't yet managed to get their convictions overturned.
So you've set out a timetable there, legislation, a timetable. You know the number of people who are likely to be now eligible for compensation. Do you know what the bill for that compensation will be and whether that bill will be paid this year?
Well, there are 690 people we expect to quash convictions for during this process. All those people get a minimum of £600,000. So you can see it's hundreds of millions of pounds of compensation. So that can't come soon enough for those people whose lives have been ruined by this situation. Absolutely outrageous what's happened to these people. It's not just the impact on their financial situation, but also their other matters such as divorces and suicides and bankruptcies, all those things. It's quite unthinkable this could happen. So those hundreds of millions of pounds can't be paid quickly enough.
The odd thing was, last week in the budget, the Office of Budget Responsibility, who do the forecast for these things, said they couldn't put a number on the amount of compensation because the details were still unclear. Are they behind the curve? Or because there will have been some people who looked at that and thought, is this the government dragging their feet?
No, not at all. We've been working on compensation for a long time. I've been in this role for 18 months and we're working on that every day since I've been in office, and so have my predecessors. So we're not dragging our feet at all. It's not precise in terms of what people will be paid. People can take £600,000, but also people can go through a more detailed assessment if they think their claim is worth more than £600,000, as many people are. So it's not precise yet exactly what people will be compensated, but there is no limit to the amount of compensation we will pay out on this, and the only limit is what people deserve to get for the treatment they've been subjected to. So we've also announced today people have been through the earlier compensation schemes, the Horizon Shortfall scheme, and thousands of people will have their compensation upgraded to at least £75,000. So if people have settled earlier, and about 2,000 people have settled for figures below £75,000, will receive another cheque in the post very shortly to mean they will get more compensation through that particular process. So good news for thousands of people being announced today.
Kevin Hollinrake, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for being with us this morning.